Chapter 16, Abusing Male or Priesthood Privilege. Sexism and patriarchy are woven throughout families, cultures, institutions, and societies. The objectification, exploitation, and abuse of women and girls directly result from these oppressive systems. The United Methodist Church, male privilege refers to the idea that men, based solely on their gender, have gained certain rights and advantages in society, governments, and businesses that women don't inherently possess. Some abusers intentionally take advantage of this and work to exploit any system in society that tends to favor men. These abusers use their male privilege to profess male supremacy, or the idea that men are superior to women in all aspects, including intellectually. Sometimes, male supremacy is an unconscious belief that causes damage despite the offender not intentionally being misogynistic. It can lead to abuses that involve not allowing the female partner equity in decision-making or parenting. For example, when male supremacy is a conscious and vocal belief, it becomes particularly dangerous. Men who abuse male privilege regularly use social misconceptions, biases, and myths to control or threaten women. They turn relationships into a competition and insist on always being right. They use male privilege to gain respect and to bolster their own sense of masculinity and importance, while simultaneously justifying their abusive behavior. Like male privilege, priesthood privilege is the system of rights to which Christian men in certain faith groups have inherent access simply because being male means that they can hold certain priesthood offices or responsibilities that women don't. And, like men who use their male privilege to profess male supremacy, abusers who practice the religious equivalent use their priesthood privilege to assert unrighteous dominion. Think of unrighteous dominion like male supremacy with a religious twist. A man who abuses his priesthood privilege might regularly use lines like, "I hold the priesthood in this home, so you must do what I say." Or, "By not respecting me, you are not respecting my priesthood authority and are therefore not respecting God." Abuse that invokes male or priesthood privilege has been deeply ingrained in society for centuries. It is found in our myths, in our fairy tales, and in abundant works of fiction. It is also evident in history books and records of lived experiences that have existed since humans could first put pen to paper. Biblical literature is rife with situations where men avoided consequences for their actions and women suffered pain and injustice. Just think of Tamar, who Judah ordered be burnt before he became aware of her true identity and the reason for her actions. Or the fact that we know about the woman taken in adultery, but not the man. Or the failure to prosecute Amnon after he raped his half-sister in 2 Samuel 13. Today, these same types of gender biases and discrimination are entangled in modern systems and institutions, including the courts. For nearly a decade, I collected data on case files involving domestic violence. What follows are 4 very brief explanations of my primary findings as they relate to male privilege. 1. Court systems regularly hold women to a higher standard in marriage, parenting, and emotional regulation than they do men. For example, in divorces where the man had cheated on his wife, the prevailing attitude was often that he just messed up. Or who could blame him when his wife wasn't fulfilling his sexual needs? In a divorce where the woman was caught cheating on her husband, however, the attitudes shifted. The woman was accused of no longer loving her family, not caring about her children, and being a homewrecker. The custody and financial decisions made by the courts in these cases reflected these biases. 2. Social systems like child protective services also hold women to higher standards than they do men. I have documented multiple cases where social workers tasked with inspecting the separate homes of both a mother and a father have shown favorable bias toward the father. One caseworker visited the father's home and recorded that the father had a typical bachelor pad, even though there was little food in the house for the children and no bedrooms. That same caseworker visited the mother's home and reported that the house was a mess with a pile of children's toys in the corner, children's books stacked on the couches, a sink of dirty dishes, and mac and cheese spilled on the stovetop. Do you see how that mother was held to a higher standard than the father, even though her home was obviously more child-oriented than the father's? 3. Despite plenty of case law and precedents, attorneys and judges still hold wild misconceptions about what constitutes abuse. For example, after a trial involving severe physical abuse, one judge privately told the district attorney on the case, "I thought you had to hit a woman twice like that before a conviction." 4. The very words we use to describe women hold more negative connotations than the words we use to describe men. More times than I can count, I've read a case report where an attorney has called a woman crazy for doing precisely the same things a man has done. But very rarely is a man ever described as crazy. This labeling is done without a formal evaluation or diagnosis of a mental health condition, or is done to degrade or make others question the actions of someone who is reacting normally to an abnormal situation.